Hey guys, Atherton here. You're watching Vital, and this is my new bike. I'm 34 years old, I weigh 83 kilos, and I'm 6'2". This is the Atherton Bikes' third prototype downhill bike, the P3, and it is extra long. I've been riding this model since the start of this year, so a good few months now, but we've been testing the previous versions of it into the end of last year, so we've had quite a few iterations and quite a few versions of it. Rear travel is 200, head angle is 63, obviously still a prototype, something we can change. And the reach, again, prototype stage, it's pretty long, but that's something we're playing with a lot and will definitely change. My favourite part about it is by far the suspension platform. The way it works, the way it tracks the ground is incredible. You know, it really, as you're riding, you can really feel it following the ground, very stable. It really gives you that confidence when you're riding, and you know, it's a type of bike that makes you feel quite brave, and it really makes you want to ride on that edge. The rear suspension on this bike is definitely one of the most impressive things about it. It's designed by Dave Weigel. It's the DW6 link. A lot of people haven't spotted it. A lot of people haven't seen the detail of the lower linkage, but it works very well. A very supple bike. You know, it's really quite sensitive off the top. It has a bit of movement on the back wheel, so as you hit bumps, it doesn't kind of want to kick you forward. There's no grabbing. It kind of moves back with the bumps. Definitely one of the things that makes the bike feel so positive underneath you, gives you that kind of confidence that I was talking about. Again, Dave Weigel knows what he's talking about. He's a really good guy to work with, and you know, the work we've done so far developing it is been a lot of fun and is been great to work on. Depending on the track, depending on the conditions, everything changes, and you know, the good thing about this bike is that you can make these small changes and it has quite a big difference, so you're not stuck at one end of the scale or the other really. Compression and rebound preferences. I run the compression settings quite open on high speed, as do a lot of riders I think these days. Again, low speeds adjusted depending on what type of track you're on. Rebound, it's pretty fast, I'd say. I imagine if the average guy got on my bike and felt it, it would feel quite fast and quite lively and might be difficult to ride, but again, it helps with traction, and if you can handle it, it does help with your riding a bit. Tyre choice, I run the Continental Kaiser. Nice soft compound, good sidewall to it. Pressures, I'm quite low and always have been, and you know, it's something I've played with. I've tried to go higher to help with rolling, etc., and I can just never feel comfortable. So pressures, I'm often as low as 23 pounds, which is on a World Cup circuit is pretty low, I think. No inserts in these tyres. Got a lump of ginger.
Ginger, wow.
It's not a standard brew.
Oh,
It's an upgrade. I've had 2 normal brews already today. Handlebars, I'm running the Renthal Fat Bar. I run them about 790, and it's a 30mm rise. Again, it's a Renthal stem, and I'm running the 50mm. As this is a prototype bike, we've allowed the head tube to be wider so we can run longer head cups in it, which gives us 6mm. Either way we can play with to make it longer or shorter, or you can switch them to play with the head angle as well a bit. That won't be on the final bike, but whilst it's a prototype phase, we're just doing that to learn the numbers. Brake lever position, I'm pretty standard really. I'm running Trickstuff brakes, and that's the first time on them this year, and I can say they're by far the most powerful brake I've ever used, which is incredible. And that allows me to run them nice and close to the bar in a real comfortable position, because you don't have to allow for having it a little bit extra to pull on, or if it gets spongy or anything. When you brake, the bite is right there and there's not too much force going through it, so you can just give it a little tap and the wheel's fully locked up. Yeah, grip choice for me is a funny one. I'm running the Renthal grips. At the moment I'm on the lock-ons, but in the race season I don't like having the metal ends on the lock-on, because I overhang my hands off the bar quite a lot, so it ends up sitting right in the palm and it's quite uncomfortable on rough tracks. So during the race season, I'm normally running the softer non-lock-on grip, but in the off-season when it's wet and I'm working on my own bike a lot, I just stick the lock-on on. I think the thing I'm most particular about on the bike is feeling that traction on the ground, and it's a real fine balance. It's all about how supple that suspension is off the top and things like tire pressure. as soon as I start feeling like the bike's not quite sticking to the floor as well, I start riding cautiously. I'm not getting my weight on the front. I'm not committing as much. So it's a real fine balance, and it can be as little as a couple of clicks out on the compression, or maybe I'm running like 1 pound too much in the fork, or the tire pressure's slightly firm. Anything like that, as soon as it starts feeling like it's kind of a bit skittery and a bit nervous, I start riding cautiously, and that affects my riding quite a lot. So the bike is made using additive manufacturing technology, which is basically 3D printing using a laser made out of titanium. Basically the lugs are all kind of designed on the computer, CAD design, and then you can put that into the machine, which then can print them up, which allows the bike to be changed every time we make it. You can alter literally any part of the bike, head angle, length, reach, BB height, for every bike designed. Then the carbon tubes are connected to the to the lugs using something called a double lap shear joint, which are then bonded together. So very strong bike, and allows a lot of change, a lot of movement, and a lot of freedom with the design. I think because we've designed this bike from the ground up, literally, going off mine and Rachel's feedback, there are so many little things we've changed just to make it how we want it, how we would choose if we could run anything in the world. So, we wanted it nice and quiet. We wanted it quite sensitive. We wanted that suspension to really work, and you don't want it kicking and jacking under braking. You want the bike to kind of feel like it's underneath you, and it feels like it's your bike, and the more personal you can get that bike to feel, the faster you're going to ride it. So the switch to Atherton Bikes came about this year. Obviously we were running Trek for quite a few years, and it was going great bunch of guys, and really got on well with them. But the dream of having our own bike brand had been in the pipeline for quite a long time, and it's something we've always talked about and dreamt of. Kept it quite quiet because obviously it's not something you can just decide to do overnight. But last year we suddenly started to feel like we were more in a position where we might be able to do this. It was at that stage where it was a dream to something we talked about a little bit more. I'd be sat on a plane with Dan or Rach just chatting on the way home, and we'd be talking about details, how it could happen, and as we went along, suddenly more and more things started to fall into place. People we met, places we'd been, things we'd seen, things that started to allow us to see how this journey, so to speak, could happen. And that's not something you pass up. That's not something, when you see how it could work, you think, nah, not for me, because like I said, it's a big deal for us. And there was a point over the winter we just had to think, right, we're doing this. We had to jump in, we had to commit to it, we had to throw ourselves in, and it was definitely pretty scary, and in some respects it still is. But also when I see how excited the whole team is about it, and how into it everyone is, and we've got an amazing crew of people on board, and that motivates me so much to see that and see how fired up they are for it. At the end of last year, our contract with Trek was up, and we knew it was time for a big change. I think that came from both sides. It was time for something fresh. And we were talking with a few other people. We were discussing the kind of options, and there were options and choices of continuing down the classic route. But like I said, this dream we had was too much to pass up. And when we saw how it could work and that opportunity was there, we had to take it, and I'm so glad we did. The bike had a huge bearing on that decision because that was one of the key factors, because we knew that me and Rach were still going to race and were still wanting to be competitive. The World Cup is still a massive goal of both of ours, and if we couldn't go into that without a bike that was competitive and fast and we knew could get a podium, then I don't think we would have done this. But that was definitely one of the things that we suddenly saw slot into place. A way we could get that, a way we could make the bike work, a way we could be on a bike that was competitive and have our name on it. And that was definitely one of the triggers, so to speak, that kind of made us jump into it. Which race am I looking forward to the most? Tricky one, really. I'd say Fort William. I always say that, but I think it's my favourite race. It's amazing to be in front of a home crowd, and I genuinely think this bike could perform really well at Fort William. The way it tracks, the way it's fast and aggressive on the kind of open rough stuff. I think it's going to work well there, so I can't wait to get it up there and see what it can do. The plan moving forward for Atherton Bikes is obviously develop this downhill bike into a bike that we can take to the World Cup circuit, prove itself, develop it into a fast bike. And from there, we have got trail bikes, which we're already working on. We've already been testing in various different travels. And then from there, we just move forward with a different range of bikes, whether it's e-bike versions, kids versions, all different types of bikes. Our goal is to basically create bikes that we would have wanted to ride at different stages of our lives and careers, and that's the goal for Atherton Bikes.